All right, everyone, 25.1 has been announced. We're not going to bury the lead this year. We're going to talk about strategy right off the bat. When it comes to open workouts, we find that people struggling with their strategy don't get to express their fitness, and their score is actually more about this than what you could actually accomplish if you thought about the way that you did the workout. So, number one, if you've been listening to us for any amount of time, you've probably heard us say that this is no standing around season. What does that mean? That means that you can move slow, but you gotta stay moving for the entire 15 minutes of this workout. So what we're looking for is what we call frantic transitions and smooth movement. Really important that as you get done on the burpee, that you're going right to the dumbbell. As you set that dumbbell down, you're working right into your lunge, and we keep that motion happening the entire time. And that leads us into number two, which is actually kind of unique to this workout. There's two individual cadence movements. So I'm saying know thyself. You got to really understand what movements you're good at. And what that means is I can slow down a burpee to help with my pacing. I can slow down a walking lunge to help with my pacing, to control my heart rate, all that good stuff. So it's really important to use those to figure out how to pace the workout for yourself. What does that mean? That means when you're on the dumbbell, you got to get to work. We got to make sure that we're really moving that dumbbell the entire time. Switch arms whenever you want to. We're going to get into movements here in a second. But again, we have these two individual cadence movements. If you love one of them, feel free to blast through it a little bit more or at least pick up the pace. But know that you can stay moving and accumulate reps on both of those movements by just, sort of slowing down what you're doing a little bit. Last but not least here, we have bracket your efforts based on time. So there's going to be two reasons why we want to do this. Number one is the obvious one. This is a 15-minute workout. It has a shitload of reps in it. If you fire out of a cannon, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to hit a wall and slow down a little bit. So an example here would be, I'm going to have my coach, my judge, whoever's paying attention to this stuff in terms of the clock, my rounds and everything, just let me know what's going on in that first 5 minutes. You can be slightly uncomfortable. This is the open. You are competing. Heart rate's going to be up. Adrenaline's going to be there. But we don't want, 5 minutes in, if some alarm bells start to go off, that's a real problem there. In that second 5 minutes, we're starting to really ramp up the RPE there. We're starting to get pretty uncomfortable. And then last but not least, we are flirting with threshold quite a bit in that last 3 to 5 minutes. So that's really important. The other thing that is a little bit unique about this workout is it's going to feel nice early on, maybe, for an affiliate athlete through the round of 15, for a competitor through the round of 18, maybe even 21, to switch movements, right? Like one of the reasons why in these merry-go-round workouts that we can keep going is because we get to changing what we're doing, using different muscle groups, changing the cadence, all that good stuff. Once we get later into this workout, we get larger chunks of movements, and it becomes harder to be able to deal with the fatigue that we get from doing that. So really try to break this workout out into chunks, these little brackets on time, and think about the way that you're doing things there. So again, quick recap. We can move slow if we have to, but we have to stay moving. The lunge and the burpee are those individual cadence movements, so go faster or slower when you need to, okay? And then bracket your efforts. Make sure that you are thinking about where you're at in the workout and if how you're actually feeling lines up with where you should be. All right, that's strategy. Let's go look at the movements. All right, so we're not going to overcomplicate things here. We got a burpee, we got a single arm dumbbell movement, and we got a basic movement with the walking lunge. But I really like to talk about movement efficiency even in things like this, because we're about to go into 15 minutes of mental warfare. And if I can think about the way that I am moving in a workout, I can get out of my head and get into my body a little bit. And hey, if it snags us a couple of reps, fantastic. So when we're thinking about the burpee here, okay, we've got basically all of our athletes are going to be doing a sprawl down. So Kyle can show us what the sprawl looks like, and then a step up. You can step up with your outside foot or with your inside foot. You don't need to show that, it's fine. But make sure that you're doing the same thing on each side, so we're getting a little bit of work on both legs here. Now, when it comes to this workout specifically, some people, the way that they move, the way that they're built, they're going to feel a little bit more in their lower body or their upper body. And we can change the way that we burpee a little bit here. So Kyle's going to show us if his upper body starts to go from the way that he's moving in the burpees and the way that he's moving the dumbbell, he can make it much more of a hip closing movement. So watch his hips jump up really quickly here with his head down as he's going through. So if he goes back now, when we're in the opposite situation, the legs are really chirping us a little bit, we can get a little bit more into that press to get up before we go to the step up there. The one thing that I did not prep Kyle for that he's gonna be able to do really well anyways is he's gonna do like 3 burpees for us. He's gonna stay low, okay? We get big athletes in the open and they don't stay low and they're just adding way too much work, okay? See where his head is? His head's gonna lead this situation and he's gonna move here. Fantastic. All right, let's move on to the hang dumbbell clean and jerk. I know a lot of people are gonna ask about the alternating arms. I don't think it's necessary to alternate on each rep. You're gonna see some athletes do that. They might just be a little bit more comfortable. You can switch whenever you want. Keeping it fairly even is a good call, just based on how your body's gonna feel the rest of the workout and maybe for a redo. So now talking about movement efficiency tips, what we see that becomes a problem late in the workout with athletes as the overhead stability starts to go is their mind starts playing a little bit of tricks and they start moving the dumbbell a little bit too much with their upper body. So I'm gonna have Kyle pause for me in a really great position where he catches that dumbbell. So Kyle's in this position here and we've just got balance, right? So when he's in this position here, then he's loaded and he is able to use the knee extension and the hip extension to get that dumbbell up overhead. You wanna do a couple of reps? So he's catching in that position and he's driving up. And you know, he just had the push jerk version there. That could fry the lower half a little bit so you can play around with. I think most athletes will have for a majority of the workout that push press there. But again, what we're looking for is getting into this type of position so that the lower half stays involved within the movement. Now, are we gonna talk about walking lunges? Can you handle doing walking lunges without me telling you how to do them? Yes, but I wanna make sure you know how to use your posterior chain. So Kyle's gonna go ahead and step up to the line here. He is going to step forward and then and go down. Instead of doing what he's supposed to do, he's gonna do a split squat here. He's gonna stand right up and then he's gonna gather his feet. If you would like to fry your quads and the muscles that can't move as much weight, go ahead and do that. Or Kyle can step forward here and put the majority of the weight on the front foot and use the hamstrings and the glutes to pull him forward. It's really basic, but it's the kind of thing where if you are pushing the cadence at any point in this workout, it's gonna help. So again, these tips aren't like gonna absolutely blow your mind and give you 1,000 more reps on this workout, but what it's gonna do, it's gonna give you a place in your head to go and say, I'm moving efficiently, I'm moving efficiently, and that can really help in a 15-minute long workout. Let's go check out the warm-up. 'Tis the season for our comments section to say, guys, your warm-up is way too long. But if you follow Misfit Athletics, you know how we do things here. And the way that you actually execute on what we're asking you to do is incredibly important. And we always get that buy-in from members of our community, our high-level competitors, when we show them what it's like to warm up in that normal way, go for a little jog, swing the arms around a bit, and then get after it, versus really thinking about the way that your physiology works. So step number 1, we're moving blood, we're moving oxygen around, 4-minute C2 bike, low damper, higher RPMs, but we're going really slow. You're sitting there with your friends, you're having a conversation, you're pedaling on the bike, like no need to really get into it. 4-minute row after that, low damper, high strokes per minute, still pretty slow, still pretty comfortable there. Heart rate's starting to raise a little bit, but we're still not even really in like a zone 2 pace. Last but not least, we're gonna go 4 minutes on an air bike, echo bike, assault bike, whatever, and build to a moderate pace. You're just barely uncomfortable a little bit getting into that zone 2 where you're really kind of paying attention, don't want to have a conversation anymore by the time you hit the 12-minute mark. So those are all going to be in a row right there. Step number 2, we're going to alternate back and forth between movements, mobility, and activation. So we're going to move the dumbbell, we're going to do some burpees, we're going to do some walking lunges, we're going to start to build in, maybe we have a lighter dumbbell at the beginning, we work into the heavier dumbbell, and we're going to alternate that back and forth with opening up our shoulders, making sure we're activating and opening up our hips and our glutes, all that good stuff. And we're just going to move through everything and make sure that our body and the movements feel really good. Last but not least, in a workout like this, really sort of easy beginning to the workout, which means we get a little bit of practice. We're going to practice in prime. We're going to complete the rounds of 3 and 6. If that takes you into 90 seconds to 2 minutes, it might be a little bit long, so we can cut it off. But a lot of athletes are going to get done the round of 3 and 6 closer to like a minute. So we're going to complete those rounds to get a feel for the workout and to spike our heart rate. Last but not least, we're going to hang out A few of you are probably gonna take too many bathroom breaks. Let the heart rate settle, then we're gonna crush it. So we have our strategy, we have our movement efficiency tips. This is how we warm up. If you have any other questions, any other comments, drop them below, head into the Discord, let's have a conversation. Good luck out there.